I'm gonna be honest, I was a little worried with this episode. With the first little bit, it was setting up in such a way that I thought I was going to take away from the enjoyment I had with the first episode, as the episode literally ends last week with our instructor getting his ass kicked because it seemed like he had no magic skill. And with how they were kind of setting everything up, watching him help, I forget her name, but obviously she's like some sort of princess as we learn in the episode, with her magic circle, it was getting to the point I was like, is he actually just some badass he was holding back? But luckily, it seems like he wasn't holding back. He's the type of guy who is skillful in his own way. He's very good with hand-to-hand combat, military combat that he's learned, obviously. But the way he uses magic isn't in the traditional sense, and supposedly, he's not good at just shortening chants or just doing the chants in the way that the students can do, and that's why he got his ass kicked, because he's not good at just doing the shock bolt spells in the traditional sense. However, he has some insane skill when it comes to breaking the traditional use of magic and making it its own thing. Like, I mean, he even has his own spell that he's made, which we'll get to in a minute. But I liked how they handled this, because they easily could have ruined my enjoyment for the series, because it was such a mocking of the cliches last week, and I felt like it was just so good with how they ended that episode. But this episode luckily doesn't take away from my enjoyment. I didn't enjoy it as much as last week, but it was still a tremendous episode in my honest opinion. Mainly because it shows how interesting of a character he is, as he has this ability as he's teaching the students, like, what would happen if you took a 3-line chant and made it into 4? It wouldn't work, it would break. Well, actually, it would curve to the right. What would you do if you made it 5? Oh, it would just shorten the thing. And he has this ability that he's explaining magic in the sense that words have the entire ability to control what magic does. The same way if I told this girl I love you, she's going to go red in the face and get embarrassed. That's the same thing with magic, where basically you have full control. It's just a matter of how you explain things. And if you were to say something like detonate, which I'm just going to use that as an example, you can literally just shorten it to one phrase. You don't even have to have any like passion in that phrase. You can use magic in that way. So if he wanted to, he could have used something like that, but he was playing by the rules of that battle from last week, so that is why he lost. So it's not like he was fully holding back. He did actually lose in the traditional sense, but if he was going to like use magic how he was showing the class there, he would have won. So I did like that, because he is obviously some sort of badass, but he's not a badass in the traditional sense, and he does have his own weakness where he's not good at doing the traditional magic chants, and obviously it seems like the more you like lessen the wording of the spell, probably the weaker it is. But I did like how they handled it, because they easily could have failed and ruined my enjoyment of the series, but I thought how they actually explained how he uses magic and how skillful he is, and also just showing once he got that little bit of boost of just kind of adrenaline to start teaching the class, you could see a different side of him where he's actually starting to have fun. He's no longer looking like that guy who's died. He just kind of looks like he's just having a bad day now. And I really enjoyed this episode overall. There was something in this episode I absolutely despise, and that was the almost rape scene. It was uncomfortable to watch, and I was hoping they weren't going to like flash her underwear or anything like that, but they were going, it felt creepy, and I understand they were trying to go for this guy is a creep. But then when we have Glenn walk in and just say, oh, sorry, I'm prudent, and he makes it into a comedy scene, and she's just like doing that kind of anime comedy moment, it didn't work, because you're setting it up for a serious scene to just pass off almost rape as just a haha funny thing. I wasn't okay with that. But luckily, after he gets in there and gets serious and he literally kicks his ass, like that, it was fine afterwards. But I didn't like that part of the episode. That made me uncomfortable, to be honest. But besides that, I thought it was interesting, because not only do we get to see a glimpse of Glenn's past, as it seems like, I mean, we see his combat experience. He has this military combat experience, and back in episode 1, I think her name is Rumia, maybe? I think it's Rumia. I could be getting that wrong, but she's the princess who almost got kidnapped. Supposedly, he saved her back in the day, and that's why he kept saying, do I know you from somewhere? Like, you look familiar. And she talks to Glenn in the episode saying how she got saved once, and she wants to meet that person and thank him. So it seems like this is what he does, is he has this ability, I think he calls it the Fool's World, where he has this original magic that he made, which essentially, in a bubble, it isolates others from using magic, but it also includes him. So it's kind of worthless in the sense of, if you're a mage, you're kind of worthless when he uses this magic, but because he has his hand-to-hand combat experience, he can kick people's ass in that way. And I like what he did to the first guy who tried to jump him. He literally puts a note on his crotch saying he's small down below, which was pretty funny to me. It wasn't as funny, it wasn't nearly as funny as the first episode, and I do hope to see more comedy with future episodes, but because we get to learn a bit about like with Glenn's past, we get to see where his skills lie, but also he still does have weakness in the traditional sense. It doesn't feel like it's going completely typical like a lot of these Magic Academy series would do. This is a lot more typical than the first episode. Not as much of a mocking episode as the first episode, but it still has me as interested to watch next week's episode as I felt when I completed episode 1. I mean, there's this really interesting presence to the series that it feels slightly different from other Academy series that I've seen. While it does have that familiarity to it, but it doesn't feel like I'm just watching another Battle Harem, another Academy School Magic series. It feels like it does have its own soul to it, and that's keeping me interested, at least for now. But I actually did enjoy this episode. It wasn't nearly as good as the first episode, but I think Glenn is a fantastic character, and learning more about him and seeing what he's able to do to magic with just altering the phrases was really interesting. But I'd be interested to hear, what did everyone think of this episode? Did you love it or did you hate it? Or maybe you thought it was just okay? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. And before you leave, hit that like button, share your support. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.